Good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Rajiv Gupta. I am a professor in cardiology in Gandhi Medical College, Bhopal, and a practicing cardiologist in the attached Hamidia Hospital, Bhopal. Today evening, we would be talking of, more importantly, prevention of cardiovascular disease in today's scenario, that is the COVID era. And this will go a long way in preventing the morbidity and mortality associated with the COVID era and cardiovascular disease. Thank you. Heart would supply the vital organs with oxygenated blood, and it is on the demand and supply ratio which determines the symptoms which arise because of inadequacy of the flow of oxygenated blood. During rest, when the demand of the muscles of the body is met with the supply in the coronary blood flow, patient apparently would have no symptoms. But when you exert, when you stress yourself, when the demand increases, if the supply do not match this demand, then a gap would appear and produce certain symptoms, which could be in the form of pain around the chest, breathlessness on exertion, less of blood flow going to the brain, producing either a pre-syncope or giddiness or instability. So these predominant symptoms of chest pain, breathlessness, and instability of gait or vertigo may suggest an impending cardiac disease depending on which cardiac disease is there in the body. Yeah, very importantly, we have to realize that if the demands of the body are met with, patient may not have any symptoms. The moment this demand is not met with, either because of an increased requirement, because of the increased demand on exertion, or the supply of the cardiac muscles is not met with because of a reduced blood flow, because of a coronary obstruction, or a sudden blockade in the coronary artery because of a clot, which we call as a thrombus, will produce symptoms. Also remembering that if the heart valves are affected, then if there is a leakage in the valve, which we call as regurgitation or incompetence, or there is a stenosis, that is a narrowing of the orifice of one of the valves, may produce similar symptoms. If there is a heart muscle disease, which we call as cardiomyopathy, or there is a disease of the rhythm of the heart, which we call as arrhythmias, whether it is slow, which we call as bradyarrhythmias, or fast, we call as tachyarrhythmias, will produce identical symptoms. And then only the patient would realize that he is having a heart disease, though on rest or minimal exertion, he may be asymptomatic, which we call as NYHA class 1. Very rightly, you pointed out that if you know the subject, if you know the symptoms, if you are aware of a silent heart disease, you would doubt any symptom coming out of place that you are having a cardiac disease. So primarily, the patient would have some breathlessness, and if he ignores this, then he will miss a silent cardiac disease. So being aware of breathlessness on exertion, which could initially be on severe exertion, unaccustomed activities, on activities which you are not used to, or you feel your palpitations or awareness of the heartbeat which is out of place, which is irregular, or which comes on minimal exertion, or if the patient or the subject is a child or a young person, if he has bluing of the fingertips or nails or the tongue, it is because of a reduced oxygen going to the vital organs, which could be brain, which could be heart, which could be the muscles of the upper limb or the lower limb, and also the blood vessels which are supplying the kidneys and the abdominal system. So this all will produce symptoms only on unaccustomed activities, and we should be aware of this, recognizing that the eyes would see what the mind knows. So being aware is so important here. Surely, yes, high blood pressure is a silent disease, and we call it as a silent killer as well. It is silent because initially the subject would have no symptoms. His blood pressure may rise transiently during some days in the 24 hours, or the blood pressure may be continuously raised, which the subject is unaware of. Also realizing that normally during sleep from 2 a.m. to 5 or 6 a.m., the blood pressure should come down. This is known as a dipper. If the subject does not have this normal fall of blood pressure, he becomes a non-dipper, and that is the reason we hear that suddenly a subject or known person or relative had a cerebrovascular attack, a brain stroke in the early morning because the blood pressure did not fall or paradoxically rose. Similarly, if you exert out of proportion, you may have fatigue in the muscles of the lower limb. You can become tired on minimal activities. You can develop unwarranted headache. You can develop some giddiness or vertigo, breathlessness on exertion, and all these would mean that the silent blood pressure, which you are not aware of, is producing a target organ damage, which could be the brain, the heart, the kidney, or the peripheries, extremities, that is the lower limb or the upper limb. COVID is a disease which is a mystery to all of us. We know that the viremia produces the initial damage, but subsequently there is inflammation. There is interleukin 6 which is elevated. There are markers of inflammation, the D dimer, C reactive proteins, serum ferritin, LDH, which produces the damage. And all of these together we call as cytokine storm. And we have heard of patients, we have seen patients for ourselves who deteriorate on day 5 to day 10 during treatment for COVID-19. This precisely is the time when inflammation is occurring and produces damage to all organs of the body, also the heart. It produces the damage to the heart muscles, which is myocarditis-like. Also realizing that in COVID, there is an accelerated thrombogenicity. We know that it produces clots in the arterial system. These clots will make the blood viscid, thick, and block the arteries, which we call as clogging of the arteries, and produce an acute coronary event, an acute cerebrovascular event. When we expand our term of cardiovascular disease to a vascular disease, it produces thrombus or clot in the bigger arteries, in the larger arteries, and all of this present as a vascular disease. Also realizing that if you have a pre-existing heart disease before getting infected with COVID, it will worsen with the COVID treatment. And the reason is that it produces undue stress on the heart muscles. It produces an undue stress on the cardiovascular system and would lead to increased morbidity and mortality in a patient of a pre-existing cardiovascular disease who unfortunately gets a COVID-19 infection. Yes, very rightly. We have to realize that if you have a pre-existing cardiovascular disease, you have to follow your dietary regulations very cautiously. You have to not miss any pill or tablet which you have been prescribed. You have to understand the importance of diet and sodium restriction. And also you have to realize that minimal symptoms, early onset of symptoms should be noticed and reported, because if you identify these symptoms, you can catch hold of the disease, stop the disease in a milder form rather than allowing it to progress to a moderate or severe disease. So COVID unfortunately produces cardiac damage, also increases the pre-existing load on the heart and worsen your stable cardiovascular disease. More importantly, patients who have left ventricular dysfunction, which we call as left ventricular failure or congestive heart failure. Patient of cardiovascular disease could be on anti-anginal drugs, which increases the blood supply in the coronary artery and takes care of the imbalance of the demand and supply. They have to be continued unchanged with adequate monitoring of blood pressure. Do not allow the blood pressure to fall excessively low. The second group of drugs, which is the antiplatelets, which reduces the stickiness of the platelet, which prevents the addition and the aggregation of the platelets and result in acute destabilization of a patient or produce acute coronary syndrome, should be prevented. And more importantly, if you have been put in stents in your body, then you need antiplatelets very meticulously, without fail, not missing any dose of a single antiplatelet or a dual antiplatelet. Patients on statins, which has a pleiotropic effect, which has an anti-inflammatory effect, which stabilizes your endothelium. So don't be carried away with your cholesterol level. Be impressed that these drugs are given as an anti-inflammatory for a pleiotropic effect to stabilize your endothelium and prevent cardiac damage. Then comes the drug which are ACE inhibitors or angiotensin receptor blockers. Again, we know that angiotensin receptor blockers, ACE inhibitors, are antihypertensive. They are anti-failure drugs. And if you've been prescribed, don't be carried away with the number of controversies which have arisen in the COVID era of the ACE receptor or the effect of COVID getting aggravated by an ACE inhibitor. If you are already on ACE inhibitor or a receptor blocker, those should be continued uninterrupted, unchanged. Of course, you may need to monitor your blood pressure. You may need to monitor your serum potassium if there is a need. Then comes other drugs which are cardiometabolic drugs, which again should be continued. So all cardiovascular modifying drugs need to be continued as prescribed without any apprehension of COVID-19 getting worsened with these cardiovascular drugs, in particular ACE inhibitors. They do not change the course of the disease. Be carefree about them. See, it is so important to realize that home blood pressure monitoring has come up in a big way in today's scenario. Patients are apprehensive of visiting a hospital or a doctor's clinic. Doctors are overworked with COVID patients, and there is a sense of insecurity in both doctors and patients in terms of the COVID progression or spread. The third point is patients traveling from far off places to their doctors is an unrealistic situation in today's scenario. Taking all this together and having taught our patients of recording of home blood pressure during this state of anxiety would avoid the white coat hypertension effect or the doctor clinic blood pressure getting elevated. So home blood pressure monitoring is a realistic situation today. Somebody who is aware of the procedure of recording blood pressure would give a meticulous record of blood pressure rather than a patient visiting a medical scenario for his blood pressure recording, and also would be able to correlate the symptoms with a rise of blood pressure if there is any situation, and this can be reported as a telemedicine part to their physicians or their paramedical team, which can guide them accordingly. Home blood pressure monitoring is a realistic situation in today's scenario. So importantly to understand that there is a circadian rhythm in the body. There is a awake and sleep pattern. And this, as we discussed earlier, is also associated with the dipper and the non-dipper phenomena for blood pressure. Also, we have to realize that catecholamines do vary in the 24-hour time. The platelet aggregation, the coagulability of the blood also varies, and so is the cortisol levels. So a good sleep, which gives you a good non-rapid eye movement sleep, NREM sleep, which is relaxing, which removes your fatigue, and also familiar situations would remove your undue stress. This sleep in today's scenario may not be possible for many of the healthcare workers, associates, and even patients who unfortunately are in the hospital. But due consideration should be given for an adequate, sound, and relaxing sleep. And this can prevent certain diseases progressing to target organ damage. Also, as you said, lifestyle modification depends on a particular situation. In today's situation, lifestyle modification is a reality. It is an essential mode of treatment, and practicing activities which you are accustomed to will help you. Just because you have more time in the house or more time at home, do not unduly stress yourself. Do not exert more than what you have been doing to or your body is acclimatized to. Similar advice would be for food habits. Being at home should not be taken as a luxury in eating. You should follow a good lifestyle which consists of green leafy vegetables, lot of fibers, balanced carbohydrates and fats, and good proteins which help you in the healing process. Also adding antioxidants, flavonoids, fresh fruits, fresh vegetables will be useful. And the last message would be, do not practice tobacco consumption or smoking in this difficult time. The opportunity of World Heart Day should be taken by the paramedical, the nursing, the medical, and the pharmaceutical industries in a way to help a society by making the patient understand the disease, by making the relatives becoming cooperative with the patient, by making the medical community sympathetic, and in a way helping the society to reduce the burden of cardiovascular disease, not only by providing adequate treatment, by identification at the earliest and adapting modalities to prevent cardiovascular disease, modify risk factors, following an holistic approach from a primary prevention to a primordial prevention to a secondary prevention to a tertiary prevention as an holistic mechanism to prevent the burden of cardiovascular disease, which would include hypertension, coronary artery disease, congestive heart failure, arrhythmias related to heart disease, congenital heart disease, rheumatic heart disease, and help the society, more importantly, in a country like ours. Thank you.